Radiance AM. Today, we are going to be speaking to the new kid that is coming up, and that is called DiversiFi. What an interesting time to be alive. If you're Flocks, and if you've been in the SMB community, you'll definitely know who I'm talking about. KidPaddle, who is also part of the team. Welcome to Radiance AM. How are you doing?
I'm doing super good. Very happy to be here and to discuss about whatever topic we're gonna land on. Yeah,
Yeah.
excited.
No, thank you so much for making the time. And obviously, we know that Flux is very much a busy guy. He's also trying to be as anonymous as possible. I don't know, he got doxxed somewhere in between, but is still very much an enigma in the Web3 space. He wants to be anonymous. Somebody actually did dox him. We don't know. He could be Satoshi at this point. We don't know. But it seems like he looks a little bit like his PFP. Is that true?
Flux will remain Flux with this part of mystery. I will not
Yeah.
participate into any doxing operation about Flux.
I fully understand.
The only thing that I can say that it is not Satoshi that I can share.
Oh, okay. Well, at least because we were wondering at one stage, he bought too many Rolexes at one point. We were like, wow, that's quite a collection you have there. You know what? We're here to talk about DeFi, everything that's got to do with DeFi and what exactly is happening in DeFi. Recently, we have seen a lot of theft within, I think it was like over $1 billion taken from certain projects in the DeFi space. So I guess my question is, firstly, what are your thoughts on that? And secondly, if we have to look at where DeFi is, do you feel like it's a safe landscape to still invest in?
Oh, that's a sensitive subject for sure and an interesting one. The way I feel about that, so of course, a part of me is very worried to see like all of those exploits. I did not keep track on like all of the ones that happened in the last few weeks because there was quite a lot. However, the ones that I did, I kept track with. I think I observed something that is a long term like more reassuring than anything else is that the exploit that we saw, most of them were linked to social engineering and not that much the code itself. So I think it's positive to see that at the code level, there is not much to leverage anymore for hackers. So I think we're moving in the right direction. And if the problem that we have to solve is more linked to proper good OPSEC and yeah, like making sure that the way you should handle your protocol is respected by you, like the execs or anyone that have the hands on the code security. I think that's an easier problem to solve than if it would be like still code breach after years and years of trying to strengthen this.
Quite interesting. A lot of people are maybe a little bit more hesitant to get into the DeFi space, so rather just keep it in their cold wallet. When we look at this and we look at the landscape and we see what has been happening, and obviously a lot of people leaving the space because of the bear market, would you say that it's a little bit dangerous to be starting out a DeFi company within the landscape that we're in right now?
We are definitely like in a trust crisis towards DeFi. Is it risky to start a DeFi company? I don't think so because doesn't matter if we feel that we've been like here forever. This industry is still relatively new, young, and I think it's part of the process to go through those cycles of doubt. Yeah, like thinking, is it even worth it to deposit my capital on chain and things like that? So I don't think it's risky to start a DeFi company now. And it's just a phase that to go through, but I think we will overcome it. And at the end, yeah, it will be lessons that will help us be stronger in the future for sure.
I definitely love that answer. I suppose for any founder, it would be a little bit of a shock to see how things are going. Obviously, you want to be able to have a safe and secure platform for all your people that do follow you. When we talk about diversify, What problem would you say it solves in the DeFi space as a whole?
DiversiFi, maybe to begin with, we are going through a repositioning right now. We launched our closed beta as an index platform. During the closed beta, we realized a lot of things that was like a very fascinating and interesting phase. And all of those observations led us to reposition from index platform toward the portfolio layer because the tech that we built around the rebalancing engine can help users capture the volatility that most part of the time they suffer from. You know that when you want to hold your position for a little while, of course, that doesn't apply to meme coin or like any sort of trading that you will keep your position for less than a week. But yeah, when you want to hold a little bit your position, most part of the time you're left with the hold advice that everyone is saying. It doesn't matter the volatility. If you have conviction, just hold. But when you look back in charts, like for example, let's say that you're very like, I guess we all are here, very bullish on Sol. If you would have bought your position a couple of months or a year back, you can see that if you would have done like some proper arbitrage to your position, you would have captured way more than just the hold advice that everybody would give you. So yeah, with the rebalancing, it's a proven strategy in traditional finance to capture that volatility. So I think that's where we are positioning ourselves as a protocol and the value that we can deliver for users.
I love that. Obviously, right now, for people getting into the space, DeFi has its issues, right? How do you guys mitigate the whole thing of being able to stay disciplined during volatile markets, specifically for somebody who might be a bit of a normie to this landscape?
First of all, I think in this phase of the market, and that's something that we learned through the closed beta, I'm not sure about the actual market of what you would qualify as normies. Yeah, the price action lately that drove all of the normies out of the market. I don't know if there is like that much normie retails left. Hopefully, they will come back, and I think if we keep building product that like that can be useful for them and not only for money making and dopamine rush, I think we'll be better off to bring them back. But yeah, I think for normie it's hard to start, but it's also one of the best opportunities to start. It's better to start now rather than starting when the market hits up again and you buy something that is going parabolic pretty much. So yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. I do think that this moment in time, everybody wants to get into a dip, right? And so many people would maybe miss that. And they buy the tops, they get pushed out of the market. For anybody who has been going through those ups and downs, how does DiversiFi actually help with that by being able to trade in smarter ways?
Yeah. So what we do is basically we tokenize your portfolio so that you can, as a user, add at the portfolio like level rules to manage your position. I'm gonna take a very simple example. Let's say that you hold Sol and you also have like a little bit of USDC. Right now, Sol is approximately the same price that it was 4 years ago. So if you would have been just holding because you have a long-term vision on Solana since 4 years ago, you would be roughly flat. And if you would have rebalanced, let's say, so a composition of 80% Solana and 20% USDC, and 3% drift threshold in the rules that you apply at your portfolio, you would be today 50% up. So that's the kind of value that we can bring to users. You don't have to be emotional anymore. Start planning way ahead to see like, okay, at that level, I'm going to sell. At that level, I'm going to buy. Because even when you do, first of all, few people do it. And when you do that, and it's not like automated, it's always hard to trade with emotions because you start doubting yourself from a couple of weeks or months ago when you did that plan. So if everything is already embedded at the portfolio layer and you just let it run through the up and downs and capture volatility, you remove on top of the very low maintenance, you remove the emotion. And it's basically a buy low and sell high mechanism that's enforced in your portfolio.
Absolutely fantastic. I find that looking at different DeFi projects, you'll always find that there are certain upsides to maybe using it, right? Maybe your motivation would be the team. Your motivation might be the fact that there's a token coming out, or there might be even the motivation of doing it the lazy way, where the platform does everything for you. So all you have to do is just invest. When it comes to DiversiFi, what would you say is, let's say, a strategy that one could use in terms of DCAing from one coin to another, or back into stable coins and then back again into the same tokens that you are quite familiar with? What would that
So
strategy look like?
first of all, if you are like again someone that loves uh, to be in the action basically and to be trading intensively, it's not something that's gonna fit your profile because the premium that we capture through volatility compared to static holding, it accumulates like in an exponential way over time. So yeah, if you use our platform for something that you want to hold for 1 week or 2 days, it's not gonna work. Worst case scenario, it's not gonna do anything, but it's not gonna bring you anything either. However, if you know what you wanna hold for a little bit, and you don't want to be soaking charts all day, uh, then it's your moment to create your own vault on DiversiFi, deposit your assets, and yeah, then let's let the rebalancing strategy that you set up do the work for you. Yeah, that's basically when you need to use DiversiFi.
And you guys already have preset type of vaults. Let's run through some of them because I found one to be quite interesting, the boomer one. And I was like, okay, this is definitely for the older generation who maybe want to have a little bit of a safe bet. Can you go through the different types of vaults that you have?
Yes. So right now, when we were mostly focused on index exposure first, we had like the core indexes, and we had some other indexes that were, let's say, more experimental. That view is gonna remain the same in the protocol positioning. So we will have a couple of core strategies like core diversified portfolio. Those are portfolios that we are comfortable standing behind for a few months, a few years, like a few cycles, such as the big four with the four biggest layer ones. Like Boomer, we have one that combines. So that one is a little bit different because rebalancing itself is not a core feature, but the product itself is still interesting. The yield one that aggregate different yield tokens. So yeah, those are the core diversified portfolios. And we will have also strategies that will be presented as template so that you can have like a very fast overview on other strategy, what it could have looked like. And but if you want to get exposure to that strategy, you will have to spin up your own vault. It will not be a social vault like the core diversified portfolio. And yeah, to get back to your question, Boomer, I do think it's an interesting one also. So Boomer, it's BTC, 50%. It's gold from Oro, 30%, and Syrup USDC from Maple Finance for 20%. And yeah, it's basically more of a defensive portfolio. And yeah, it makes sense. And it was, yeah, not a joke. We found it pretty much adapted to call this vault the Boomer strategy. Yeah.
I love it. I thought it was actually quite interesting and quite funny, right? Because if you looked at how there are boomers, a lot of boomers that are in the space, and maybe they would want to put their money into something, whereas they don't necessarily have the maybe the right type of platform to assist them with that. My my one question to you would be, when looking at that and you look at Diversify, is it beginner friendly? Does it have the right type of mix for whether you're beginner, maybe you more advanced, or both?
It's an interesting question. I would say that the index approach was more beginner friendly, definitely. I do think that the user that we have now in the ecosystem, they have the level of autonomy for most of them to be able to navigate very easily into DiversiFi. So for someone that knows a little bit about Web3, it's going to be very easy. Of course, if you don't know anything, it's going to be a little bit more challenging. But yeah, in our GTM, going to those users, like the more normie crowd, it's going to come in like it's not gonna come right now, it's gonna be the next phase. So right now, still easy to use as long as you have like you know a little bit how to navigate Web3. It's like you've already interacted with other protocol and yeah, things like that. And when we will be able to spin up indexes again, and it will be a better time to do that. That will target more normies, the crowd.
I 100% agree. And I think being able to be part of a platform that has a little bit more in terms of flexibility, that it takes the traditional thing of DeFi and makes it a little bit more safe, if one could call it, right? Because the one thing that people really want is to have something that is really simple, right? And you go back to the KISS principle, keep it simple, stupid, right?
Yeah.
Where you're able to really have people understand it within a couple of minutes of being on your platform and not having to go through tutorials and things like that, right? How do you
Yeah.
feel DiversiFi would maybe fare up against other types of protocols? Like, for instance, we've got Jupiter, which is doing pretty well. And don't get me wrong, I'm not comparing the two, but when we look
I'm
at
happy you.
both, oh, please do, please do.
I think there is so much to learn from those big platforms because most of them, if they have retention, it's because they cracked how to make it easy for their users, right? So yeah, platforms that are big and that are around, they know what they are doing in terms of UI UX. They have the experience and the data to build in this direction. So I think the smartest thing we can do in terms of again user experience is to get some inspiration from there and then add on top of that a layer of like how we see things and yeah, I do agree with you that if the goal, and it's like I'm not saying that we're going to do that by ourselves, but we want to bring our stone to the edifice. If the goal is to onboard masses, more and more people coming on chain, we have to make the UX like that simple because yeah, ideally the perfect on-chain product is a product where you see the on-chain part the least possible. So that's something that I think is pretty obvious. But yeah, that's the vision that we have regarding UI UX in the chip.
Interesting. The next thing I would want to know is about the audits and how that works. Have you been quite transparent with all your users about how your auditing will go and safety and security within your platform?
Yeah, of course. Like from the first version we released, we were fully audited. So the smart contract part is being handled by Sec3, who is a top auditor in the ecosystem that is need to be proven. And the backend part is also handled by a very solid team, Iron Node. And yeah, that's you won't see on DiversiFi a feature being pushed. It doesn't matter if it's like a closed beta, an open version that's being pushed and non-audited. So yeah, as long as you interact with our platform, yeah, you can be sure of that the product you're interacting with has been audited and all of the audits are fully accessible on our documentation. So yeah, that's about the security. But like I said earlier, security now doesn't stop audit anymore. Like if you have the best auditor on the market, but you have like very bad OPSEC, you're back at square one and you put the user at risk. So yeah, all of those recent, of course, like we already had high standards, but all of the recent events, like with exploiting DeFi, helped us strengthen our practice within DiversiFi. And like I said, it's a tough time right now for crypto, but it's also because now we go through tougher time that we will be able to outgrow that and have a stronger ecosystem once everything is, everyone has learned their lesson and we can move forward.
Right. So I suppose when we look at impermanent loss, right, we all know the game with DeFi is that there's always the possibility of you losing as much as you're winning. So, how do you guys get to do that and make it better for the user where they have minimal impermanent loss, but at the same time, they get maximum profits?
So just before starting on that topic, we are fully non-custodial. At no point in the process we are in the custody of your funds. They are in the vault, but you remain the only person that controls them. So yeah. About the permanent loss. So impermanent loss, it's very specific for liquidity providing, and we don't have impermanent loss. The only loss that you can have using our protocol is if like the non-favorable price action is a straight up bull market. Because if things are going parabolic, of course, if you use something that rebalances and it keeps streaming an asset that's going up without never looking back, of course you're gonna miss on some profit there. You're not gonna lose money because you still are exposed to that asset. You're gonna maybe lose a little bit of performance. However, if you consider that you're losing performance, it also comes with the assumption that you're very good at timing the bottom and timing the top. If you don't trust your capability at doing that, you're far better off taking profit regularly while your assets are like going up rather than trying to time the top by yourself.
That's such an important thing that you mentioned there because a lot of people try and time the top. And we've seen a lot of manipulation within the space in the past, let's say, year and a half or two. It's been quite interesting to see how people have lost a lot of money, right? I suppose that's also added to a lot of people leaving the space in this time. So, when using Diversify, is there a thing where you're able to average down and take maximum profits? Is that what you set when you start out your vault? Or are you able to keep changing maybe according to what the Web3 landscape looks like?
Yeah, and let's go through the technicals maybe. So when you want to use Diversify today, like in a couple of days, because with the repositioning, we're gonna introduce what's gonna be like the core feature, like launching your own vault to tailor made it for your portfolio. So when you launch your vault, you decide like what tokens you want to hold, and you deposit your capital into your vault, and you set the rebalancing strategy. Let's say that, for example, you have, again, let's just say like Sol and USDC. And so what we do is that we monitor inside at your portfolio level of your assets. So for example, if you enter your position and you want 80% Sol and 20% USDC or Syrup USDC or whatever, then you set a drift threshold that when your position, like the weight of each position goes too far from the band that it's also like it's allowed to move in, it's going to trigger the rebalancing. So let's say that you have Sol USDC 80/20 and you set a 3% threshold. That means that if Sol pumps 22%, it's going to trigger the rebalancing and it's going to bring you back to 80/20 versus USDC. So it's a math that is not super easy to explain like this, but yeah, a 3% threshold, it's what's it's gonna create in terms of price action. And to make that very easy to understand, we are releasing in a couple of days with the new UI UX at the simulator, where you're gonna be able to go and see, for example, okay, I am holding BTC on Solana for 2 years and Solana. Let's go and look like what it would have, like how it would have performed with DiversiFi. And you will be able to see when you change the drift threshold, like what's the impact on the actual price action that your asset needs to experience to trigger the rebalancing. But yeah, the idea is to harvest the volatility of your token and to have volatility help you outperform static holding.
That's amazing. Have you been able to have maybe a case study of where there've been sharp reversals and DiversiFi has been able to really mitigate that quite well for the community?
Yeah, just to add to my answer, because you asked if you could adapt your strategy to the market. Yeah, the
Yeah.
vault, like at all time, remain under your control. And if you want to remove an asset, add an asset, change the drift threshold that you're using, you can do that. Like you're the only admin on the vault. The only limitation we have right now is the number of tokens that you can put in a vault. It's 5. Why it's 5? It's because we want the output of the vault to be an SPL token that can be like actually composable across other renew on Solana. And yeah, that's why we limit this for like technical constraint. And about your last question, for example, the one that I mentioned, like with Sol USDC at the beginning, is a good example. And we ran 8K simulations to have a clear idea on what is the part of the time where you actually outperform a static holding. And we were able to prove that, of course, it depends on the threshold for like every portfolio. The threshold is very important. But if you use the threshold the good way, in 80% of the case, you will outperform a static holding.
That is quite interesting. Are we, let's say we talk about where we are in this market, right? How are you guys mitigating that specific hurdle of being able to have people trust the platform, trust the team, trust the fact that their funds are safe?
Yeah.
How have you received a lot of love for the product itself?
Yes, I think as a team, we try to be as transparent and as possible and as accessible as possible. I will always love when you reach out to with questions or just with feedback and things like that. And I really hope I will be able to keep that availability for users. And I know that every team member share that philosophy. Yeah, we try also to position the team as the human we are behind our PFP and stuff like that. Because yeah,
Course.
you cannot ask people to trust you if you don't show who you are, basically.
It's so true. I was actually looking for the Diversify Telegram because I remember I went in yesterday and I was like just checking if everybody's enjoying Diversify, asking for a friend, and I put in brackets flocks, right? Just to see the type of reception that I would get. But it's great to see that you guys have started out with a really good base, a base of people, a base of community. And we all know with any project that is in the DeFi space or in Web3 entirely, it all starts with a great community. And it seems like you guys really have that secret sauce to having a good community. Tell us a little bit more about that and how you guys have been able to build it.
Everything that we do answer the question of what is this gonna bring to the user. So I think having that in mind as all time like helps having first of all a good like relationship with our users, and have people also trust that we're going to work towards the direction that is good for them as users. And we're trying to stay in a lane where we don't promise like anything that we aren't sure we can go through with. Like there is no fake incentives that are gonna hype people up on the short term and then gonna leave them with disappointment and things like that. Because we also believe that at core, like in Web3 and in every type of businesses, if your product cannot stand just because like it's a good product and people want to use it, like what are you even doing? So yeah, throwing promises at people just to have them come to your platform, knowing like exactly that once you will tell them what you can actually do is going to leave people disappointed on leaving your platform. It's not something that we want to see happening with DiversiFi. Like sometimes it's a bit counterintuitive to have a long-term vision in a fast-moving ecosystem like Web3, but it's really something that we're trying to do and we want to do. And to be honest, I'm not putting like that amount of work into a product, into a business, if it's to know that 6 months from now, I will be doing something else. So yeah, and all of the team share that approach also. And it's great because yeah, it helps us like all of us pull in the same direction. It's very interesting to build with this team.
I love what you say about the vision and not being able to not stray away from, look, we want to be here for a while. We're not looking at something that's going to be a momentary thing. The 6 month type of project that stays gives out, I don't know, a shitcoin of some sort, and that's it. It just dwindles away. So that's really great. And I think for you to actually come up and say that, I think it's great to see that a project such as this is building in the bear and has been putting things together and making sure that they create a really great project for anybody that is in the space. Let's say, for instance, somebody's looking to use a DeFi project. They come onto DiversiFi, and maybe they want to look at more things that are a little bit more traditional. So maybe from TradFi, and maybe they're looking to invest in Tesla or things like that. Do they have the opportunity to invest in those sorts of commodities?
Yeah, if you want to use like a tokenized securities into one of our vault, you will be able to. We personally aren't at this point gonna distribute diversified strategies with tokenized security because it's a gray area, tokenized securities that we're not comfortable pushing at this time. So tokenized securities not in diversified core vaults, but if you as a user want to get exposure to this, you will be able to add that into your vault. And it's funny that you're mentioning like more traditional way to invest, like rebalancing strategy. It's not something that we invented. We didn't reinvent the wheel here. It's like something that's been widely used in traditional finance, well, since like years and years. And yeah, it's something that more traditional investors will be looking into coming on chain. So yeah, it's interesting to a product that like we use something that has been proven in traditional finance, that is like volatility harvesting through rebalancing, and we apply it to a class of assets that is structurally way better to do that than like traditional stocks. Of course, it's not gonna save a very poorly constructed portfolio, but if you do good picks, you choose your token or your coin, it will, in most cases, provide you with a substantial premium because of that volatility that it's inherent to crypto, right?
Interesting. When I think about DeFi and I think about TradFi, and then I think about mixing the two together, and one actually coming from, let's say, a Web2 space looking to invest, would you say that DeFi is where it is. It's not really going to transform much from where we are now? Or would you say that projects like DiversiFi are pushing the boundaries of what traditional DeFi would look like? As you see the other projects that have been around since 2021 or so, would you say that you guys are pushing that boundary and making it a little bit more flexible for the normie?
I don't know if we are like pushing boundaries. I feel like a lot of very strong project like paved the way since 2021 in DeFi, and we just have like to follow that path and look like what's happening around us, where are the capitals coming from, to see how to shape the product. Like it's interesting and frustrating because if you look today on the timeline, most people that are vocal there, they will make you feel that in this ecosystem, everything is like for fast money making, right? And it
Yeah.
doesn't like, but the reality is that it doesn't stop there. And
Yeah.
we are building a product and talking to people on Twitter that maybe at first have more of of an approach like taking huge risk for huge potential return. And at our level, if we can help people understand that, unfortunately, a more boring way to invest is gonna, in 99% of the cases, outperform what they do.
Yeah.
I would consider that a part of our job is done there, because that's the hard truth, is that we chase dopamine, but like boring works, and boring works better than dopamine.
I don't know. I think a lot of DJs would definitely disagree with you there. And they'd say the next shitcoin is actually going to be that one that goes to
I
like
hope
$10.
I hope seven.
I-
But yes, unfortunately, I think the statistics are more on my side, and that like having a more long-term vision is probably what most should do.
Obviously, the biggest businesses have been ones that have been quite boring, right? And they bring in the most profits and the most infrastructure, if one could say. And I suppose that brings me to my next question. When we start talking about things like AI and how AI has really come into the Web3 space, would you find that AI is really becoming a factor within Web3, and also for build out that are in Web3? You don't necessarily have to know Rust in order to build anything in Web3, as we've seen with previous hackathons within the past year or so. What are your thoughts there?
So there is different layers in that question. On the fact that AI makes the cost of building in terms of just financial cost and knowledge cost way cheaper. That's for sure. But at the same time, that's more of a personal bias. When you see what's happening in DeFi, I am not ready to deposit my capital into something that has been AI generated. Like I'm not against using AI to code as long as it remains in the hands of strong engineers. I use AI too. Like I'm not a super strong dev. I know how to do things or two, and AI allow me to do way more that I without it. But I wouldn't be comfortable to push one of my code like to production for users. So I do a lot of like internal toolings and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm like, I know that you audit your code pretty great, but again, like an audited code by AI doesn't have for me the same like safety taste that the code audited by Sector, for example. So yeah, for that first layer. And then how do I feel about AI? So I do think it's interesting to see that more and more transactions are performed by AI agent. On the DiversiFi layer, that's something that we really take into like consideration because let's say you're a user and there is thousands or millions of users like you that want in a few years to have an agent like handle their portfolio for themselves. Those agents, they are in that part like humans. They are lazy, and if they can have like a solution that is like trusted, fast, and that can scale with the demand to manage the task that they have to do like with a portfolio, they will use that. So we position toward that future also with DiversiFi. Yeah.
Very interesting. I think that obviously AI is quite the phenomenon. People that maybe had ideas, they were able to bring them to life and really make something of it. And I think it's quite interesting to see. And throughout Web3, we've had the DeFi phase, we've had the NFT phase, we've had the meme coin phase, and now with AI, I think it's quite interesting to see how things are shaping up. For you guys, it's obviously a great thing, but like you say, you're not necessarily going to leave your hand in something that is just AI driven and not
Yeah,
a
not
human
yet.
behind it who is, no, not yet. But as we're talking about AI, Claude Code or Codex? What is
I
your
was
poison?
my puzzle is cloud code. Not really because something against Codex. Like I have friends telling me to switch to Codex like since quite like a few times now. But yeah, I have my ways of doing it with Cloud Code, and I'm happy
Yeah,
the way it's going.
yeah,
So yeah,
I love it. And as we're having the conversation about DeFi and the Web3 space, with DiversiFi, we're obviously natively Solana, right? Are you guys looking to be chain agnostic anytime soon?
no, no, because like I'm not saying that this will never happen. What I'm saying is that on Solana we have everything. Like we have RWAs, we have yield product, we have it's a real world asset, but yeah, tokenized stocks, commodities are coming more and more. So we have the biggest assets that are on other chains, are like have their equivalent wrapped on Solana. So I don't really see the need right now to go out of Solana. If you're outside of Solana and you want to use the product, honestly, now you have like ways to bridge USDC so easily that it's even something that like I think before going chain agnostic, we will most probably allow a user USDC on to be able to deposit into DiversiFi like through a bridge. But yeah, not saying never, but it's not in our priorities right now to scale.
Very good. And you know what? I just want to say, what a great project. I mean, I've been chatting to Flux for quite some time, and what a great guy that I've never met before. So he could be an AI agent. I don't know.
It's not.
Well, that's good to know. No, but all jokes aside, you know what? For anybody that is listening to this, watching this, don't hesitate, but to go on to X, follow DiversiFi. It's use DiversiFi, and obviously for anything that you want to ask them, get into their DMs. Harass KidPaddle. He will definitely
Yeah.
be answering your DMs there. The website is app.diversify.trade, and
Like
obviously
home.
non-custodial. Yes, non-custodial,
Yeah.
and you will be able to invest your money the way you want on your terms, which I think is pretty cool. So thank you so
Yeah.
much, Kid Paddle. It's been amazing to have you on the show. Radiance AF, and for anybody that is not following, please give us a like below, subscribe. Yeah, watch out for the newer projects that are coming about, which it's always great to support. The one thing that I did want to ask you before you leave, Kid Paddle, is I would like to start out a thing where we're able to maybe pay it forward. And I would like for you to maybe give us an idea of who you would like to see next on the show. Who would you nominate?
I hope he is not gonna be mad that because like it takes a little bit of time, and I know his schedule is like super packed. But I think Nom would be a great host for you guys, and yeah, because I am like Bonk is like we are very tied with Bonk, and I love what these guys at Bonk have been able to accomplish. And yeah, like it's very funny because Bonk, like, well, we all know arrives a meme coin,
Yeah.
but building with them, and that's something that's like stood out pretty early when we started talking and starting seeing like what they do outside of a meme coin. So they started out meme coin, but I think they might be one of the biggest project, like pushing the ecosystem forward, pushing the ecosystem like towards Web2 to onboard more people. Like all of the initiative that they on the sports sponsoring to bring visibility to Web3, like in front of Web2 people. What they are doing with like the company in Nasdaq that they got involved in. Yeah, I think having a project like that pushing the ecosystem is a great strength, and I'm super happy and proud to be able to build with them. And yeah, if you manage to catch Nom for 1 hour to talk about like with him about all of his thoughts on the ecosystem, you're gonna spend a really nice time.
I'm looking forward to having Nom. The monkey with the sailor hat. Definitely looking forward to that. And Nom, if you're watching, we definitely love you on the show. Radiance AF is looking forward to having you here. No, but thank you so much from myself, Ms. Pope, to you, KidPaddle. Thank you so much for coming and joining us. And of course, for sharing everything about DiversiFi and also DeFi, and knowing that DeFi is not as scary as people make it seem to be. So thank you so much. You have a fantastic one. And we will definitely see you guys pretty soon on the show when you've taken over NASDAQ yourself. We're looking forward to that. All right.
Perfect. Yeah, let's do that then.
Thank you so
Ciao.
Thank you. Ciao.